And welcome back to another podcast with Mr. Hagan. On this Econ podcast, we're going to talk about public policies to solve externality problems. And on some of my previous videos, we talked about two of these policies already. But we're going to talk about four public policies on this video. When I say public, what I really mean by that, by public, is I mean government. Okay, government policy. So I'm looking at government policies or public policies for solving externality problems. So let's look at the negative externality of pollution. What are ways that we can solve the negative externality of pollution problems? And one way to do that is through regulation, or what we might call command and control. Now, the idea of command control means it's the same for everybody. We're going to make one blanket rule that everybody has to follow. One blanket rule that everybody's got to follow. So an example for this is we might say that everybody has to clean. Every company has to clean their smokestack one time per month. So every month, doesn't matter, if you pollute just a little bit or if you pollute a lot, doesn't matter. Every month you got to clean your smokestack. Okay, same rule for everybody. That would be a regulation. That would be a command and control way of dealing with the problem of pollution or externalities. Now, another way of handling it would be to use a Pigouvian tax, and we did talk about Pigouvian taxes on some previous videos, but we did not break down the two types of Pigouvian taxes. So the first type of Pigouvian tax is the one that I did talk about on some previous videos, and that is to say that we're going to tax the good that is causing the pollution. So maybe it's the production of cell phones, and so what we could do is we could put a sales tax. We could put a sales tax on phones, and so when a company produces cell phones, there's going to be a tax that they have to pay on that, and that's going to reduce the amount of phones that get produced. I talked about this in a previous video, and that's going to therefore reduce the amount of pollution. So here you are taxing the good that causes the pollution. That's the typical type of Pigouvian tax. In fact, when I say Pigouvian tax, unless I say otherwise, that's typically what people mean. Taxing the good that caused the pollution. Now, that gets us then to the second type of Pigouvian tax, which we might also call a fine. So this type of Pigouvian tax is a tax on the pollution itself. So we are no longer taxing the good that causes the pollution. We're actually taxing pollution. So we would have a pollution fine. So that might say that for every 10,000 pollutant particles that leave your factory, you have to pay a $100 fine. I don't know what the number should be, what the expectation is on the number of pollution particles, but let's just say 10,000 is a number, and if you go beyond 10,000 particles in a month, then there's a $100 fine or a $1,000 fine or whatever the fine has to be. Okay, the key here is that we are placing the tax on pollution itself. Okay, so in one way, one Pigouvian tax is we tax the good that causes the pollution. The second idea is we tax pollution itself, and we'll look at the details of these on another video coming up. Now, just remember this about taxes. Taxes usually move society away from the social optimum. That's what usually happens. Taxes usually move us away from the social optimum, and as a result of that, they create inefficiencies. But a Pigouvian tax is going to move society closer to the social optimum. So in this case, the tax is actually creating efficiencies in the market. There were already inefficiencies. There was already a market failure, a negative externality, and we fix it with the tax that moves us closer to the social optimum. And I've talked about this on other videos in this playlist. And then finally, the last thing that we could do is we could use the Coase idea, and we could create pollution rights. This is the right to pollute, and but you can only pollute if you purchase the right to do so, which means you have to buy a pollution permit, and then those pollution permits can be bought and sold in the open market. They can be bought and sold in the open market. So most of this is stuff that we've already talked about on previous videos. But this gives us a clear set of choices. We got 4 choices when we want to tackle negative externality problems. We have 4 choices of public policy, and on a future video we'll talk about what these look like in terms of a graph. Okay, we're going to take these and we're going to graph them and look at the different consequences of using these different types of policies. All right, so thanks for joining me. This has been Mr. Hagan on another podcast, and we'll see you on the next podcast.